Before we get started with this episode, we have a major favor to ask you.
If you could subscribe, like, and comment, especially with somebody that you'd love to see on the show, we would really appreciate that, and it would be amazing.
This helps us more than you know. In fact, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and that is our goal, we are going to choose 2 of you to come to our very first Shoreline Show meetup with our team and our past guest.
And if you want more of the Shoreline Show, you can get on us on all the major audio podcast platforms.
Now, let's get on to the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, Africa's the next China.
Absolutely.
Huge population, a lot of talent, not a lot of opportunity. So if you give people opportunity, they will take it and they will succeed. So that's the idea behind Moja. It's a super app. A super app is an app that's multifunction, and this is an app that's designed to help entrepreneurs flourish. So it has 3 basic pillars. One is Moja Marketplace, which gives entrepreneurs a place to have a storefront and list their goods.
That's huge over there.
Yeah. So they're like mini sites within the app, you know. And the second pillar is we call Moja University, which has courses for entrepreneurs. It's going to be it's growing like crazy right now. We're just about ready to add a whole bunch of curriculum, but right now it's focused on getting people on a digital platform and showing them how to do that. So that's the second pillar. Third pillar is, we call it Moja Connect, and it's a communications tool, so people can talk to each other on the app. So if you're a buyer, you can talk to the seller on the app and vice versa, send messages back and forth. If you're a seller, you can do a lot of things. You could form a trade network. You could advertise.
Can you do e-commerce through there as well?
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, so
that's because that's a huge issue there as well.
Yes, the marketplace is designed for e-commerce. Moja Market. Most Africans don't have a bank account.
Right.
So the phenomenon has happened in Africa is they used mobile money, e-money.
So like crypto?
No. This started out in Kenya with almost by accident. The company is called M-Pesa, letter M hyphen Pesa. Pesa is a Swahili word for money, and M stands for mobile money. And it was started by one of the big cellular carriers, Vodafone, which is a British company.
So it's like a currency that they use?
Well, people originally they could go to a kiosk and give the kiosk money, and then that money would be loaded onto their phone.
Okay.
And then they could pay anyone with a mobile money account from their phone. And it was wildly successful.
Yeah.
Within a few years, something like 70% of GDP in Kenya was on this app.
Right, which is kind of like a digital banking system.
It's exactly that.
Right, because you're absolutely right. Like the people that I was with, they didn't have bank accounts.
No.
And like when I was there, I'm like, I need to go to an ATM and withdraw some money, and they're like, I go, what bank do you guys use? And they're looking at me like
you're crazy.
They didn't know where to take me.
Yeah.
So
So we have people can pay with mobile money or credit cards on Moja. That has been a massive challenge, by the way, because we wanted to offer entrepreneurs and buyers the ability to use any mobile money provider. Everyone else, you had to stick with a single provider. So we've talked about having an agnostic payment system.
Yeah.
And we built that, it has been a huge job, much bigger than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, the big issue in Africa for online transactions is trust.
Yeah.
You know, if you go onto
all of Africa, I would say in general.
Yeah. If you go into Facebook Marketplace, people have had bad experiences because they'll see a product they want, they'll send their money, and they never get the product. So we built what we call a virtual escrow. What it is technically is it's a float account where somebody buys a product, it sits in the float account until they acknowledge that they received the product, and then the funds are released to the seller.
Nice.
Man, what a job. It took us 2 years to get that.
Well, you're
first one
building
to
this
work.
ability of trust within a system.
Yeah.
Essentially
That's
what
amazing.
the American government does for a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But you're just saying, hey, you know, if somebody's not going to do it, we're going to build the trust within this system to
Yes.
sit there and say, okay, I'm not going to deliver unless you pay, and we have a way to pay, and this is the way you do it. And then as you become more educated, you, just like our system here, right? As you become more educated, you can run better business, better practices. And then I think there's also a way, right, from what I understand with Moja now, is to be able to get funding, correct? Is there a way to do that?
Yes, we're adding a couple of features that'll come online hopefully early next year. One is a microloan facility where you can get a microloan right on the app.
Yeah.
And the other one for which there's a lot of demand is microinsurance.
Oh, that's interesting.
And a third product that we're probably going to add, because again, there's huge demand for this, is what they call death insurance, what we call life insurance here. But death insurance is sometimes called funeral insurance. Africans, even poor Africans, frequently have pretty extravagant funerals. And so this is a policy they can pay for $1 a month or something, that when there's a death, they have the money to pay for the funeral expenses.
Nice.
That's nice.
So there'd be other products on there, a lot of other products. We're adding educational features too. There aren't many bricks and mortar places that most people can go to learn anything.
Well, especially outside of Monrovia, there's probably
But there's nothing. Yeah.
There's nothing.
So that feature, there's a lot of demand for it, but it's a big job to build that kind of a system. We've done that, and we're going to have a lot of curriculum coming on very soon. One of the first is going to be a video course on how to become a baker.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, one of our clients is in Zambia, is called Cake Market. And they teach, it's mostly women, how to bake these fantastic cakes to sell. And it's just in the process of being certified. There's a certifying agency in Africa that if you have that certification and you're a baker, you're likely to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
So we've been building relationships like that everywhere.
Wow.
So how does Moja get involved in that? They sell these cakes then? I understand. I'm just I'd like the viewers to understand. Like, so how does Moja? How are they involved in that? So
Well, yeah, you can buy cakes on Moja.
Okay.
You can order cakes, but we're also selling a video course where you can learn how to make cakes.
Okay.
And open your own business.
So what do they do, like, for, so if they're buying something online on Moja, what do they do for, like, delivery of that product?
Yeah, big question.
That's a good I
question.
see that
Right.
as something that would
There are
be very
two
difficult.
options right now. One, well, actually 3 options. One, they can pick it up at a central spot.
Yep.
And we have Moja partners where they can do that. Second is they can arrange with a delivery service on the Moja app. And the third possibility is one we're working on now, and that is Moja is considering contracting with a third party to do our deliveries. We don't want to get into the business of fulfillment.
Right.
Because it's super expensive, and we would rather that local people make the money off that.
Exactly. I mean, that's a whole industry right there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, instead of like bringing in, like putting in an Amazon warehouse that you're fulfilling all these orders,
Yeah.
you're providing a way for people there to start their own business delivering things.
Right.
Which is huge.
It's just
because
creating jobs, right?
It
Like
creates
helping
huge
people.
amounts of jobs
Exactly.
for people. I love it.
That's the bit. I mean, we're in the business of helping these people succeed, and in the process, we think we can build a very large, successful business of our own.
Right.
But it depends on scale.
Right.
Yeah, I actually know a few people that I think Amazon's done a pretty good job with. I know a few people that own Amazon delivery services. So I don't think they held all that on their own. I think they actually empowered local people. I know a guy that actually owns an Amazon delivery service near here. And now he's starting to go into other things in entrepreneurship, like owning golf courses and stuff. And it's really interesting to be able to see that. So I'm wondering in the future if like there's a way to encourage that over there in Africa, and maybe through Moja, like, hey, we can do this delivery service, but maybe we're not hands-on doing it, but we have the education.
Maybe that's a course, is teaching somebody how to put together a delivery service.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
there are delivery companies
Yes.
that we're considering already, have been for a while. But they tend to be local.
Okay.
And what we have to devise eventually is going to be a cross-border system.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's going to be doable because the delivery industry is growing in Africa, the indigenous
Yeah.
delivery system. I mean, if you DHL and FedEx and
Right.
UPS are all there,
Right.
but they're not last mile delivery
Yeah.
in
Right.
Africa.
Right.
And we need last mile delivery. So that's one thing we'll get to. One of the challenges of building a business like this is you don't get everything you need right away.
No.
You know, as we acquire more capital for expansion and operations, we can then begin to do some of these integrations with third-party businesses who can do that. We're,
Right.
for example, in conversation right now. In fact, it was a conversation that happened this morning in South Africa with the fellow who was director of Uber in South Africa for 5 years.
Okay.
Now, that's a guy who knows a lot about,
Yeah.
delivery,
Right.
because they also deliver packages. But you've got to formulate or structure a deal that works for everybody.
Right.
And that we're comfortable with. And we're not quite there yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes trust. Like you said, especially in Africa, it takes trust, building relationships and that development over time, and realizing, hey, you're not going anywhere. We're
Right.
here.
Right.
We're not going anywhere, and I know that we can trust you and you're the stability of what we're doing. So I think that's where people just have to build that with time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you see as the future for Moja?
Well, our informal model, which you don't share with everybody, is world conquest. You know,
Ah, great. I love that.
we are ambitious. We're only operating now in 2 countries, Ghana and Zambia,
Okay.
because we had relationships there.
Okay.
And it was a safe place to test and make mistakes. Fail fast, as they say.
Yeah.
Get that. You entrepreneurs out there watching this, is fail fast. I think that is a key
I
thing
love
to
that.
hit on, is we're always so afraid of failing, that through our failures is when we learn actually the most out of anything.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So we'll be launching in South Africa in the next few months,
Okay.
and in Nigeria next year.
Okay.
Those are the 2 largest markets in Africa. Nigeria is the largest
Yeah.
by far, but South Africa is also quite large,
Yeah.
and it's a sophisticated economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll expand those 2 countries from there, we'll make decisions about where to go next. We've launched cautiously because we want to learn, and also because, as with any early stage company, we never have enough capital. So we have to go out.
Isn't that always the case?
It takes money to expand into other countries. So that's my particular challenge right now. We've been funded entirely from within the community of faith here in West Michigan.
Right.
Wow.
But we need serious money at this point.
Right.
So we're seeking much larger money, and we want to do it without compromise, because some big institutional investors, venture capital firms,
Right.
they don't share our values.
Right.
I love that.
So we're
Staying true.
We're cautiously moving forward there, but we've got to move forward because it's going to take tens of millions to expand across the continent.
Right.
So that's our challenge. I think the model that we've built, which is unique in the world right now, has applicability beyond Africa. But we've got a long ways to go before we've conquered the African continent. So we're going to do that first.
Yeah. Well, and what a place to start, because if you can succeed there, oh my gosh, you can succeed anywhere.
Yeah.
In the world, if you can make it happen there, that's a huge challenge. So for our audience here, if it's an investor or might be somebody that's watching us in Africa that wants more information, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to we have an informational website. It's not a website where you trade. And that's www.moja.africa.
Okay. And how do you spell Moja?
M-O-J-A.
M-O-J-A.
It's a Swahili word for the number 1.
Ah.
So we're one destination for all of your needs if you're an entrepreneur.
So Moja.com.
Yeah, Moja.Africa.
Moja.Africa.
Yes,
I like that.
.com. We fought hard to get that .Africa.
Really? That's awesome. Okay.
Domain name.
So,
nice.
So one of the things I like to do is I like to ask the question for a lot of young entrepreneurs, people that are blazing the trail and trying things, and they feel sometimes like they're seeing success, but it seems like it's a never-ending battle at times. What advice would you give like a young entrepreneur?
Don't quit.
Don't quit.
I mean, I don't know of any company that was built that didn't encounter obstacle after obstacle after obstacle.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think about some of the major companies in America now, and it's like you look at all the obstacles that were hit, even America in general.
Yeah.
All the stuff that we went through to get to where we are today as a country, and perseverance, right, is the key to it all, right?
Yeah, perseverance is a necessary ingredient. And I think the other...
And a little bit of crazy. You need that.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a little bit of crazy. Yeah.
A lot of crazy, sometimes a lot of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, being an entrepreneur is not about being safe.
No.
Right.
You have to take a risk.
No.
Well, that's why when in the very beginning you mentioned your dad, and you're like, he had a strong, almost too much about risk. Yeah. And I would say that's kind of like my style. Right, I've always been that. Like when I first heard about you and Moja, I'm like, I want to know more, and I appreciate that, because at the end of the day, that's the fun part about life, right? It's doing things, and I said it over and over again. I mean, so I've even been on vacation for 2 weeks before, right? And 2 or 3 weeks, and you're on vacation, and it's a long vacation. You start to think everything's about me. What do I want to eat? Where do we want to go? What are we doing? And it gets old. And I think that's why I always say I never see myself retiring. I think slowing down, like you said, but retiring. It's because it's like we're here to do things, do stuff, like, right? Like making things happen. And I think we're called to do things. And so I appreciate that even about your dad. Yeah, he takes high risk, but I think some of that, I can relate to that, and I think some of that's really good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you have to be willing to take a risk, and that's why most people don't do this sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Most people want to save money, max out their Roth IRAs every single year, live in a safe little bubble and say, okay, and no room for error. It's like, or in movement, it's like, okay, I have my IRA maxed out. I have my retirement set up. I have my job. I'm super comfortable. But nothing came from being comfortable, and nothing comes from that.
If you've never wondered how you're going to pay your mortgage, you're not an entrepreneur.
Seriously. Yeah, that's good.
Yes,
yeah.
Very much so.
And I never met him directly, but he was in our family somehow, but the original founder of Family Fairs. And he told my grandpa at one point in time, he said to him, he goes, you will never be successful and understand be a true entrepreneur unless, how did he say it? Unless you owe somebody $1 million at some point. Back then, a long time ago, that $1 million. Yep. Now it's nothing. It's starting to get to the point, but back then it was like a big deal. It'd be like saying 100 million today, right? It's like when somebody $100 million, you're like, I couldn't imagine. And it's just interesting, his mindset, and I think it's a lot of. There's a mindset of trailblazers, people that are doing things that have that mindset. It's totally a unique mindset they have. So when I heard you say that about your dad, it really stood out to me because that really hits home for me. You had to take huge risks, bold moves. Yeah. Yeah,
and this community is full of people who took big risks.
Right.
In a previous life, I interviewed Fred Meyer and Rich DeVos and those who made crazy decisions.
Right. But do you think that in those communities, do you think eventually, I think a lot of it's a first generation mindset. I think you get comfortable second and third generation mindsets.
Yes.
And I think that you look at all these people in their first generation, and I think we're starting to see some of that second, and not picking on this community, but second and third generation mindsets, and we got to get back to the whole not living comfortable, like, right? Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, we have a tradition on the show. It's a message in a bottle. And so our previous guest left a message for you in our bottle.
And this is exciting for us because we have no idea. We don't even peek. Honest to God, we know nothing about what's in that. So it's always interesting to hear.
Yeah, so you can open the bottle and see what the message is, and then read it, and then you'll get a chance to leave a message for the next guest.
This is wound up very tight.
You have to, because otherwise, we always tell people you'll have to do the same thing because you don't get it out of the bottle otherwise.
There's nothing on your calendar for the week. You have to go to work. What do you put on your calendar for the day? You gotta think about that. There's nothing on your calendar for the week. You have to go to work. What do you put on your calendar?
You want to move your mic so they can hear you? Yeah, you're good.
Sorry.
Hearing what you're saying, I'm trying to think about what that even means. I think it's saying that as entrepreneurs, this would be my guess, is as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't have a schedule that of things we have to do. But we know that we need to do kind of what we're talking about, things. We need to make things happen. We got to push forward. So you don't have an appointment that you have to go to. There's nothing you have to do this week.
So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Oh, I would do some leisure things. I would take.
It has to be work related.
Has to be work related? Oh, bummer.
Right? Yeah. It has to be work related. I think that's what it's saying, right?
Yeah. So you have to go to work. What are you going to do today?
Well, if I have an unstructured day and yet there is still a lot to do, I think some constructive daydreaming is very helpful.
That's real good. I like that.
Because if you don't dream, you're really not going to
this is powerful.
accomplish
This is good.
big things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. I think that I would have never thought about that, but I think that's an amazing answer. That's good. I really appreciate that. And if I was to answer it for you, what I would think too is you would spend time building and establishing more relationships.
Yeah, relationships are precious to me. I have some really close friends. I have a circle of male friends that I'm very close to, which is unfortunately kind of unusual in this culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cherish that.
That's cool. I love the daydreaming thing. I think I'm going to take that a little bit too. Spending time every day just to daydream. I think that's important to do. Yeah.
Yeah. That goes along with walking the corgis, and
that's probably a good time to do it.
Yeah, reading recreationally. I'm an avid reader, have been my whole life.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the keys to keeping a young mind into the future is curiosity.
Yeah.
If you're curious, you read and you think and you grow.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite places, I mentioned it I feel like I've mentioned it multiple times in these episodes. One of my favorite places, if you ever get the opportunity to go, is in Fort Myer. It's the Edison Ford. There's like this, Edison had a house and he moved Ford's house from here to from the Detroit area all the way to his place, and then they have this barn where it's all set up for just like curiosity and thinking. And I always appreciate, and I think something in the world's killing creativity a little bit, and like thinking outside the box, and like even their compound, their area, I call it compound, but area, even like the thought process behind the grounds that they lived on was so creative. They thought 30 years out what these plants would look like. It's just beautiful. It's unreal. Yeah.
Nice. Well, now you get the opportunity to write a message to the next guest.
Okay.